Chapter 16, Red and Yellow. Vincent sits at the wooden table of his room. My life is so simple, he thinks. The table, a chair, and his bed are all he has, and it's enough. Theo's letter is spread before him like a map as the morning light filters in from a small window. A shaft of light illuminates the letter, and motes of dust dance in the air. It arrived that morning, bearing the folds and creases of its trip from Paris, delivered by the postman, who smiled politely as he averted his eyes from Vincent's ear. A courtesy Vincent has come to appreciate in this small village. Paris, July 25th, 1890. My dear Vincent, thanks for your recent letter. It is with regret that we will be visiting Brabant without you, as you expressed such disappointment. Our apologies. This letter is rather urgently composed and sent. I must tell you that my position with Goupil is not very good at the moment. Business is slow and money is tight everywhere. Since the beginning of the year, I have had many expenses, too many, and the firm is pressing me about the amount I already owe them. I am obliged to advance money to several painters whose work we have taken in, and although this will be recovered later, for the moment it leaves me with very little in my accounts. This coming at a time that little Vincent is growing bigger, and his hunger growing as a result. You must not imagine that I say this to reproach you. Absolutely not. On the contrary, I want you to continue working as much as your health allows. Only, I must say, do not count on my being able to send more than the usual amount of money to sustain, as even that amount can sometimes cause difficulties for me to manage. If only things would pick up a little. People buy almost nothing. The dealers are afraid to take risks. I try to push your work whenever I can, and in time I'm sure it will be recognized. But for now, we have to live as economically as possible. I'm sending you the money for this week. Write again soon. Your letters always cheer me. Warm regards. Your brother, Theo. He rises from the chair. The floorboards groan beneath his weight. 2 floors below, Adeline sweeps the front step of the inn, her movements quick and efficient. Her mother prepares for lodgers. A horse-drawn cart passes in front of the inn. The wheels clack on the cobblestones. His gaze falls on the portrait of Dr. Gachet, painted earlier in the month and now propped against the wall. He sees the truth of Gachet's soul and captures it in his portrait. The man sits like one who has leaned too long into listening. There's a weariness about him. His head does not rest on his hand so much as surrender to it, and the pale skin, accented by yellow, amplifies his disquietude to the contrasting cobalt background. It's honest. It's true. A painting of companionship in suffering. It is a remarkable likeness, Dr. Gachet had said when the portrait was completed, his voice betraying more emotion than intended. You have seen me, Monsieur Van Gogh, truly seen me. I see your immense talent, and believe Paris will see it as well. Vincent folds the letter with the kind of precision that retraces the precise folds of Theo's from the day he sent, July 25th. It feels good, like Theo was in the room. Then he tucks it into the nightstand drawer with the others and closes the drawer. I'm lost without Theo's support, he thinks. How could my work continue? He scans the room and takes inventory, a few old brushes, the scattering of paint tubes in prime colors. How many are there? 5 tubes. Just 5 left? Do not count on my being able to send more than the usual amount, the letter said. He moves to a work in the corner, a half-finished canvas that waits its turn. On it, a wheat field with crows, the black bird suspended in flight above undulating gold. He feels its pull, the need to complete it before the vision fades. After a pull of bread, cucumber, and farmer's cheese at the inn, he returns to the clearing, where the wheat field stretched before him like a sea of gold. The easel is firmly in the soft earth at the field's southern edge, where the ground rises slightly to offer a view across the undulating landscape, and the wood creaks slightly as he adjusts it against the persistent breeze. This field has become familiar to him over the past weeks, a sanctuary of sorts, where the rhythm of nature provides a counterpoint to the chaos of his thoughts. The morning light bathes everything in a pristine clarity that seems to strip away the layers between perception and truth, revealing the essence of each stalk, each cloud, each distant tree line that frames its composition. The cast of characters return with him in the thick summer air. Cicadas sing their metallic song of love. A pair of crows lift suddenly from the field, their black wings stark against the gold and blue. Vincent watches their flight and marvels at the beauty of nature. He squeezes his tubes with deliberate pressure, chrome yellow, cadmium, ochre, a touch of burnt sienna. The colors emerge like jewels from their soft metal casings. Vincent loads his brush with a rich gold-amber mixture and makes the first decisive stroke across the canvas and steps back to assess his progress. Sweat beads on his forehead beneath the brim of his straw hat, and he wipes it away with his sleeve. Somewhere behind him, a thrashing of wheat stalks break the field's natural rhythms, and a figure emerges. The village bully, Renee. "Hello, crazy Dutchman," Renee calls out, his voice carrying across the short remaining distance between them. His tone seems almost pleased to see him. "Be careful of this one, brother," Ian says, surprising Vincent after 60 days of silence. The boy approaches with the swagger of someone who believes he owns the ground beneath his feet. Vincent notices the changes since their last encounter. Renee now wears leather chaps over his trousers, a wide-brimmed cowboy hat tilted at a rakish angle, and an alarming holstered pistol at his hip. The costume transforms him from a bully to a menace here in the quiet French countryside. "I remember you," Vincent says with dread, his voice steadier than he feels. "You're Buffalo Bill." The name, drawn from their previous encounter when the boy had stomped Vincent's canvas into the dirt, seems to please Renee. He preens slightly, adjusting his hat with exaggerated flair. He pulls a wheat reed from the ground and clenches it in his uneven teeth. "Yes, I am," he agrees, thumbs hooked into his belt, stance widening. "And you're Chief Sitting Bull, the Indian that wants to paint the scalp of the great Buffalo Bill." His French accent mangles the English words, adding a strange dissonance to the performance. "Well, you won't get my scalp, Sitting Bull." "Put down the brush, brother," Ian says inside Vincent's head. "Back away from the easel, real slow-like." But Vincent remains still, one hand holding his palette, the other holding the brush heavy with yellow paint. In a motion so fluid it seems rehearsed, Renee's right hand moves to his hip. Fingers close in around the pistol's grip. The metal catches a glint of the sun as he draws it from the holster. Vincent watches strangely detached, as if observing a scene through the wrong end of a telescope, everything clear but impossibly distant. Renee's gun extends towards him. "He's going to shoot," Ian says urgently. "Move!" But he stands frozen, his palette and brush still in hand. His mind floods with images, Theo clasping his shoulder, showing him Bateau Lavoie from their apartment in Paris, the desperate faces of the men in Boynage, gallery owners of Paris turning away with disinterest, his father's disappointment, Gauguin, the yellow house, the goat. It was just a pop, like an uncorked champagne, muffled by the surrounding wheat. A wisp of smoke rises from the barrel, curling upward in the still air before dissipating. Crows take flight from nearby stalks, their wings beating a panicked rhythm against the sky. He feels a dull punch, just above his belt. A pressure, really. He looks down in bewilderment as his white shirt blooms with a spreading stain, the color of wild spring poppies. He drops his palette and brush. For a moment, René's bravado disappears as he stares at the warm pistol in his hand, almost confused. Then a crooked smile spreads across his lips. He holsters the pistol, turns and disappears unhurried into the wheat, the golden stalks closing behind him. The pain arrives in a staggering wave, radiating outward from the entry wound. Vincent's knees buckle. He gasps, doubling over, one hand braced against the ground to keep from falling. The wheat stalks brush against his face, their texture abrasive. His blood drips on the yellow shafts. The path from field to village never seemed so long. Colors and images swirl together, not unlike a starry night. Fields give way to a dirt road, and the dirt road to cobblestones that jar his wound with every step. By the time he reaches the Ravoux Inn, his shirt clings to his skin in a sticky embrace. The inn's doorway yawns before him. Vincent straightens as best he can before stepping inside. To his relief, the interior is empty, save for Adeline, who sweeps the floor on the far side of the room. She looks up at his entrance, her broom pausing mid-swing, and then continues. He moves toward the stairs that loom before him. Her eyes follow him. He grasps the banister with his free hand, each step requiring a concentrated effort. Lift foot, place foot, shift weight, lift foot, place foot, shift weight, repeat. It feels like a mountain range. From below, he hears Adeline gasp. He doesn't need to look to know what she's seen. Blood marking the wooden steps like breadcrumbs to his room. The attic door stands ajar as he left it that morning. Vincent stumbles inside, collapsing into the chair by the window. Blood has soaked through to his trousers now, and pain throbs with each heartbeat. "Ian," he calls, louder now, desperation edging his voice. "Ian, are you there?" Alone again, he leans his head back against the chair, eyes fixed on the slanted ceiling. Minutes pass, marked only by the pain and hallucination. He thinks of the unfinished painting left on his easel in the field. Heavy footsteps pound up the stairs. Monsieur Ravoux appears, face flushed from the rapid ascent. He takes in the scene with one sweeping glance. Vincent slumped in the chair, the blood-soaked shirt, the growing pool on the floor. "My God, man," he exclaims. Ravoux kneels beside him, gently moving Vincent's hand away from the wound to examine it. His face grows grave. "This is no accident," he says. "This is a gunshot wound." "Adeline," Ravoux calls over his shoulder. "Run for Dr. Gachet. Tell him to come at once. Tell him it's Vincent." The girl's footsteps clatter down the stairs and out the door. Ravoux turns back to Vincent, pressing a clean towel against the wound with firm hands. "Who did this to you?" he asks, his voice gentler than his touch. Vincent closes his eyes. The room has begun to spin slowly around him. "No one," he murmurs. Ravu makes a sound of disbelief but asks no more questions. Time passes so strangely, stretching and contracting without pattern or reason, as he drifts in and out of awareness. At some point, minutes, maybe hours later, the room fills with movement again. Dr. Gachet arrives, medical bag in hand, face set in professional concentration. "Vincent," he says, kneeling where Ravu had been. "I'm here now. Let me see." Vincent submits. Gachet works quickly with the buttons of his shirt, peeling the fabric away from the wound with a sticky resistance. The bullet hole is small, surprisingly neat, but the flesh around it is already darkening, blood seeping steadily from the puncture. He cries out as Gachet works to stop the blood flow. His touch is impersonal, but not unkind. "I've been shot," he whispers. Gachet looks up, meeting Vincent's eyes. "Yes," he says. The bullet lays inside. "How did this happen?" The question hangs in the air. He knows that what he says at this moment, and at this time, will become the official account. His answer will follow him, perhaps beyond death. "I shot myself," he whispers. Gachet's hands pause in their work. "You shot yourself," he repeats Vincent's words. "You have a gun?" "I don't know," Vincent whispers slowly, the words slurring slightly. "I don't remember." "Where's his gun now?" Gachet presses, resuming his cleaning of the wound. "I don't know." The room tilts again, and he grips the arms of the chair to steady himself. "It must have dropped it." Gachet exchanges a glance with Ravu over Vincent's head. "Vincent," he says, his voice gentler now, "did someone do this to you?" "No," he says with effort. "It was just me. I did it. No one else." "He's losing too much blood," Gachet says to Ravu. "Help me get him to the bed." They lift Vincent, between them, his body heavy and uncooperative. The movement sends fresh agony through his wound, and for a moment blackness closes in from the edges of his vision. He wakens from a shaft of morning light on his eyes as he sits in his chair. There is no memory on how he got here from the bed, only that the need to be upright was overwhelming in the hours before sunrise. His shirt is gone, replaced by bandages that Dr. Gachet wrapped tightly around his torso. His face has taken on the color of old paper. His breath is shallow and labored, each inhalation a deliberate act requiring concentration. Vincent's eyes labor to move and observe the space around him. On the table next to him is his pipe, worn smooth from years of fond memories and smoke. An old friend. He reaches for it with careful deliberation and stuffs a plug of tobacco into its bowl, tamping it down with his thumb. The familiar ritual feels good, one of companionship in this moment. He lights the bowl and takes a deep draw. Thin, curling strands of smoke reach towards heaven. He wonders why he never painted this wonderful old pipe. Voices drift up from below, Monsieur Ravu speaking to someone in urgent, hushed tones. Footsteps pound up the stairs, too quick for caution. The door flies open, and there stands Theo, coat unbuttoned, hat still on, face flushed from travel and fear. For a moment, the brothers simply look at each other across the small room. Theo's chest heaves with exertion and emotion. Vincent draws from his pipe and smiles at Theo like they were back in Rue Lepic. "Oh, Vincent," Theo whispers, the words barely audible. "You came quickly," Vincent says slowly, his voice a dry rasp. Theo crosses the room in 3 strides, falling to his knees beside the chair. Up close, the contrast between the brothers is stark. Theo, well-fed, well-dressed, his face lined with worry but still vibrant with health. Vincent, gaunt, pale, his eyes sunken in their sockets, the bandages around his torso the only concession to modesty. "Dr. Gachet's telegram arrived yesterday evening," Theo says, removing his hat and setting it aside with shaking hands. "I took the first train." He reaches for Vincent's hand, clasping it between both of his own. "What happened, brother?" They say you shot yourself." Vincent nods slightly. "An accident in the fields." He struggles slowly. "An accident?" Theo repeats, disbelief plain in his voice. Vincent studies his brother's face, the same blue eyes as his own, as his father's, the same high forehead, the same jaw and curl of hair, the letters, the love. Theo's composure breaks. Tears well in his eyes, spilling down his cheeks. "I should have brought you to Paris," Theo says, his voice muffled. "I'm so sorry. You should have been with us, with Joe and the baby." He lowers his head, pressing his forehead against their clasped hands. Vincent shakes his head slightly. "No," he says. "This was the right place. So lovely, so beautiful." Vincent Willhelm Van Gogh died of his wound later that July morning, with Theo by his side.